Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to the show tonight. We are going to have a very interesting show tonight. I hope you guys will hang in here with us, because we are only relaying information that only one other news organization has put out today. So stay tuned for that. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. So folks, stand by. I first want to start off this program, as we have been doing in times past, with the national anthem of the United States, given to us by the United States Army Barbershop Quartet from 2015. Please stand by. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh, yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, brought to us from 2015 at the Barbershop Quartet Convention. We want to thank all of our service members far and wide, whether they're here in the United States or overseas. We want to thank also our allied armed forces servicemen and women. Thank you for your service, and may you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. God bless you all, and thank you again. Folks, we thank these men every day. That's why, one of the reasons why we play this national anthem. We give tribute to our country, and we give tribute to our armed forces by doing this. We appreciate them very much. Folks, tonight I'm going to base the majority of this program to a report by Jeff Hawley that was released yesterday. Jeff Hawley is the senator from Missouri. Jeff Hawley put out a transcript called the Whistleblower Report, Failures of the United States Secret Service in Connection with the Attempted Assassination of former President Donald J. Trump on July 13th, 2024. Now, I'm going to be talking a great deal about this, and there's a reason for it, because nobody else is talking about it. Absolutely nobody else is talking about it, and we must talk about it. We must talk about it. The federal government, Biden, Harris, Secret Service, FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security have scrubbed it under the rug, completely sweeping it under the rug. I'm going to tell you exactly what is in this report tonight. Only one news organization has even touched on it, and that is Fox News. I want to talk to you about it because nobody else is, and we need to know what's going on. We absolutely need to know what's going on. The public has a right to know what happened and why President Trump was shot at. This report, like I said, was released from the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, U.S. Senator Jeff Hawley from Missouri. Now, I'm going to read the entire report for you. Please don't misunderstand me by anything that I personally say. Please pay attention to the report as I give it to you. On July 13, 2024, President Donald J. Trump was nearly killed by an assassin's bullet while hosting a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And the United States Secret Service failed to prevent it. It was the most stunning breakdown in presidential security since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy back in 1963 and the assassination attempt of President Ronald Reagan in 1986. Following the catastrophic failure, the Secret Service, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, have all tried to avoid real accountability. They've tried to evade completely and total real accountability. They've lied before Congress and the United States Senate. These agencies and their leaders have slow-walked congressional investigations, misled the American people, and they shirk responsibility. In response, Senator Hawley personally visited Butler, Pennsylvania rally site to interview whistleblowers and opened up a whistleblower tip line. And he encouraged those with relevant testimony, relevant information to tell their stories. Since then, many individuals have come forward with information regarding the events of July 13th. From the Secret Service, the Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement, as well as private citizens. The resulting findings are highly damaging to the credibility of the United States Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. They reveal a compounding pattern of negligence, sloppiness, and gross incompetence. Gross incompetence, ladies and gentlemen. That's an understatement. Gross incompetence. Now, I've been doing a great deal of studying on this. I promised you a complete investigation of my own, and that's one reason why I'm coming forth with this report today. I want to make sure that the report is out, number one. Number two, I want to make sure that it comes out and everybody understands what it says. Okay? This report, again, reveals a compounding pattern of negligence, sloppiness, and gross incompetence that goes back all the years since President Kennedy was assassinated, since the investigation of President Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt as well. Chief among all these patterns of negligence, sloppiness, and gross incompetence. The Secret Service's Counter Surveillance Division, which is supposed to perform threat assessments of event sites, did not perform a typical evaluation of the Butler, Pennsylvania site and was not present on the day of the rally. Second, the Secret Service personnel declined multiple offers from a local law enforcement agency, a local law enforcement partner, to deploy drone technology, despite the fact that the would-be assassin used a drone to survey the rally site mere hours before the attempted assassination. The assassin himself used drone technology to survey the rally site. The Secret Service's Office of Protective Operations Manpower told agents in charge of security for the Butler rally not to request additional security resources because they would be denied. Let me read that again. The Secret Service's Office of Protective Manpower told agents in charge of security for the Butler rally not to request additional security resources because they would be denied. Okay? We spoke about this before. President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania had minimum security presence from the Secret Service. And in fact, and I'll refer to this in a few minutes, in fact, some of the people that were present in Butler, Pennsylvania were not Secret Service. They were Homeland Security investigators. They were Homeland Security investigators. They normally investigate security fraud and investigate financial fraud. They were not protective agents. They were given 2.5 hours video instruction on protective detail before they showed up in Butler, Pennsylvania to protect President Trump. On July 13th, law enforcement personnel abandoned the rooftop of the American Glass Research Building, Building 6, the AGR building, Building 6, and the former director of the Secret Service said it was because the roof was too steep. She specifically said the roof was too steep. She also made another statement. She made a statement that the roof was too hot and too steep to have agents on. If that's the case, why were there police agents on the roof after the shooting, standing right next to the body of the person that was shot? You see a picture here in the background, there's a police officer agent on the roof. In the foreground, there's a Secret Service agent in full suit and tie. Okay? Why did the Secret Service director say it was too steep and too hot to have agents on the roof? This is just one more fallacy of the investigation. The Secret Service lead site agent on July 13th. The Secret Service agent with specific responsibility for security of the rally site, including line of sight concerns. Line of sight concerns. For example, from the AGR building to the stage where President Trump was speaking. Line of sight concerns. He was known to be incompetent. The Secret Service lead site agent was known to be incompetent. That incompetence led to the placement of items like flags around the Butler stage and the catwalk that impaired visibility. Impaired visibility for security agents to see where President Trump was and to help protect him. Supplementary Department of Homeland Security personnel, DHSI agents were used to fill in shortages of Secret Service personnel on July 13th, with only 2.5 hours video instruction. Some DHS agents were pulled off child exploitation cases for that purpose, and the training they received was merely a poor quality 2-hour webinar. These findings were published by Senator Hawley in a series of letters to executive branch officials that have been cited by members of Congress and news outlets that have enhanced the public's understanding of what transpired on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. In multiple cases, executive branch agencies have confirmed or corroborated whistleblower testimony. The findings have highlighted the need for swift, aggressive, and oversight action by the President and both houses of Congress. Executive branch agencies so far have denied any knowledge of these allegations. Isn't that typical? The executive branch agencies, the President himself, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Congress have denied any of these allegations. What is more is on July 30th, Senator Hawley directly questioned Acting Director Rowe, Mr. Ronald Rowe, the Acting Director of the Secret Service, about whistleblower allegations in a hearing jointly held by the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee and Senate Judiciary Committee. In addition, Senator Hawley is revealing several new findings from whistleblowers that have not yet been reported. The lead agent responsible for the entire Butler visit, including the rally, failed a key examination during their federal law enforcement training. To become a Secret Service agent. Secret Service intelligence units, teams with Secret Service agents paired with state and local law enforcement to handle reports of suspicious persons were absent from the Butler rally. Secret Service agents that were supposed to be paired up with law enforcement and state law enforcement agencies were non-existent, meaning the state and the local law enforcement agencies were on their own. Gross inadequacy of federal agents on site. Third, the hospital site where former President Trump received treatment after the shooting was poorly secured, and the hospital site agent could not answer basic questions about site security. The hospital site agent could not answer basic questions about the site security. To date, Secret Service and DHS have provided virtually no answers whatsoever, and there remain many outstanding questions as a result. These questions include who, within the Secret Service or Department of Homeland Security, made the decision to deny counter-sniper coverage to the roof from where supposedly Thomas Crooks was, who shot former President Trump on July 13th. 2. When will the Secret Service or Department of Homeland Security publicly name the lead site agent for the rally and the lead site agent for the Butler visit? Homeland Security and Secret Service deny giving out that name. And yet, Acting Director Rose said people have been put on administrative leave. The agents that were responsible for the lack of security on July 13th for the presidential rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, were put on administrative leave. But both Department of Homeland Security and Secret Service deny giving out anybody's name that was responsible for what happened. Senator Hawley has consistently demanded accountability, calling on former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to resign, which she did, and demanding that Acting Director Rowe terminate those responsible for the security failures. And he will continue to do so in the months to come. Hawley has written letters to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and called on the DHS Inspector General to investigate the department's failures. Whistleblowers are encouraged to contact Senator Hawley's office by email at tips@hawley.senate.gov, tips@hawley.senate.gov, or by phone at area code 202-224-6154. Whistleblowers' identities will be protected against disclosure. All communications are entitled to protection afforded by whistleblower laws. Now, I'm going to go through this. I want everybody to understand this is a report from Senator Hawley's office, a whistleblower's report from Senator Hawley's office, including the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security. Let me give you a background. I think we need a background about what this is about. Let me show you. I'm going to put up a timeline here. I want everybody to realize what the timeline's about. Okay? On July 13th, 2024, Thomas Matthew Crooks took up a shooting position on top of the AGR Building 6 in Butler, Pennsylvania. The building had a direct line of sight to former President Donald J. Trump as he addressed a large crowd of supporters at the Butler Farmer Fairgrounds. Roughly 400 feet away, Crooks fired 8 rounds from the AR-15 style rifle. President Trump was struck by gunfire and immediately evacuated for medical treatment at Butler Memorial Hospital, but not before pausing to reassure the crowd that he was still alive. Crooks' bullets also took the life of another spectator, someone who loved President Trump named Corey Compatore, who was shot in the head while shielding his family. 2 other men were shot and critically wounded. Congress created the U.S. Secret Service with the mission to protect the President, Vice President, former Presidents, and other important government officials. 18 U.S.C., Title 18, United States Code, Section 3056A. In fiscal year 2023, Congress appropriated roughly $3 billion to the Secret Service. Yet despite these vast resources, the Secret Service failed to protect former President Trump from a 20-year-old would-be assassin who appears to have single-handedly outwitted the world's most famous protective service. This level of incompetence demands an explanation. Now, I want to stop there for just a minute. As I said several weeks ago after the shooting, there are a lot of unanswered questions, such as the person who was shot, allegedly by a police sniper unit assigned to President Trump's site, had tattoos on his arm, and his ears, which had which had gauges in them, had been sewn shut. Yet Thomas Matthew Crook's ears had no such gauges, and neither one of his arms had tattoos on it. The dead man's arms were, one of his arms was raised up by a police officer on the site the day of the shooting, showing the tattoos on his arms. Yet Crooks did not. Okay? So who really was the man shot? Who really was the person shot? And I also need to say who was the person that was cremated 10 days after the shooting. Was it really Crooks? Or was it the other gentleman? Getting back to this report. Senator Josh Hawley is a member of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee, the SJC, which share jurisdiction over the same Secret Service. Senator Hawley is the only Republican senator who serves on both committees. Hawley is the only Republican senator who serves on both committees. On July 13th, the same day as the attempted assassination, Senator Hawley called on the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee to conduct a full investigation into the events of that day. Senator Hawley also called on the Senate Judiciary Committee to also conduct an investigation into the events of that day. On July 14th, Senator Hawley formally wrote a letter to the House Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee and the Judiciary Committee calling for a committee investigation, and on July 15th joined other Republican senators calling on a Senate Judiciary Committee investigation and calling on the chairman, Democrat Senator Durbin, to do the same. Okay? Now, on the morning of July 13th, Crooks, or whoever he was, took Crooks' father's AR-15 style rifle. He purchased 50 rounds of ammunition and a ladder and drives to the rally. Local sniper tech's colleagues talk about someone who snuck up and parked by their cars. That was a text message. Someone snuck in and parked by their cars. Crooks videotaped outside secured perimeter by members of the public. Members of the public video recorded Crooks in a secured perimeter. State and local law enforcement identified Crooks as a suspicious person. That was at 5:10 p.m., 1 hour before President Trump was shot. At 5:32 p.m., state and local law enforcement observed Crooks browsing news on his cell phone in possession of a rangefinder. A rangefinder that can look from the building over to the stage where President Trump was. At 5:38 p.m., photos of Crooks shared in law enforcement group chats. State or local law enforcement discussed Crooks with rangefinder. Quote, "I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage. FYI. If you want to notify Secret Service snipers to look out, I lost sight of him." at 5:46 p.m. Local law enforcement notifies Secret Service counter snipers via text that there was a suspicious person. Just 15 minutes, just shy of 15 minutes before the sniper took his first shot. Isn't that interesting? Just 15 minutes before the sniper took his first shot. At 5:51 p.m., local law enforcement notifies Secret Service that Crooks was observed with a rangefinder. What happened here? At 5:32, local law enforcement observed Crooks with a rangefinder. It took from 5:32 p.m. to 5:51 to notify Secret Service that Crooks was observed with a rangefinder. What was the delay and why? At 6:02 p.m., Crooks is observed between the American Glass Research Building, the AGR building. Okay? He was observed between the two buildings sitting on a block wall. Now it goes a step further. He goes a step further. Let me bring you this. At 6:03 p.m., President Trump took the stage. I want to know, and everybody else wants to know, why the Secret Service, knowing that Crooks was somewhere on the AGR building, why they allowed President Trump to take the stage. They had a safe room for him before he took the stage. Secret Service had every reason not to let President Trump take the stage. Secret Service had every reason not to allow him to take the stage, but they did it. At 6:08, 5 minutes later, state or local law enforcement observes Crooks on the AGR building. Now I want to show you one other thing here. Right here. This is a picture of the person, and I'm saying person, who's on the building. Crooks had blonde hair. Crooks had blonde hair. This person on the roof had dark hair. Again, that calls into question, was it really Crooks on the roof? Or was it the other gentleman that I mentioned several weeks ago? I don't remember his name right now, but it was a completely different gentleman. Okay? Also, you need to know something else. Local law enforcement and the Secret Service said he would have had on shorts. He had on cut-off shorts. It appears that this gentleman had on long pants. This gentleman had on long pants. Okay? At 6:10 p.m., Butler Township police officer climbed up to the roof, hoisted by another officer. Crooks turns and aims his rifle at the officer. The officer releases his grip on the roof and falls 8 feet, injuring his ankle. Secret Service said they were aware that locals were working an issue. Secret Service agents said that they were aware that the locals were working an issue. At 6:11 p.m., approximately 24 seconds later, Crooks begins firing his AR-15 style rifle. The FBI assessed he fired 8 rounds. The FBI assessed that he fired 8 rounds. Interesting. Interesting to say the least. Now, I want to put up a map of the property. I thought I already had loaded this image, but apparently I did not. I'm putting it up right now for your perusal. This map right here. This is the map of the Butler Farmer Showgrounds. Okay? This map shows you the shooter's location on the roof of the AGR building. It shows you the position of President Trump on stage here. Okay? Now, I also want to show you another map here, a little bit different map. I want to show you this other map, and it's important because there's 2 separate maps. 2 completely different maps. Okay? Let me show you this map here. Okay? Remember what you see here. This second map is a bit different, but it is just possibly even more important. Look at this. Okay? Again, this shows where the shooter was. It shows where President Trump was. It also shows where the injured rally attendees were. It also shows you the location of Corey Comparatorium. Okay? Isn't this interesting? Allegedly, the shooter shot 8 rounds. Since July 13th, many credible whistleblowers have approached Senator Hawley with pertinent information. Senator Hawley has published these allegations in a series of letters addressed to the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and U.S. U.S. Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe. This details the various allegations reported to Senator Hawley and the responses from the executive branch agencies or lack thereof. A. July 19th. The Butler rally was treated as a loose security event. A loose security event. Senator Hawley wrote a letter to Secretary Mayorkas regarding credible allegations from a whistleblower with direct knowledge of the Butler event. Allegation 1. The whistleblower alleged that the July 13th rally was considered to be a loose security event. Specifically, they alleged the following. Detection canines were not deployed to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner for outdoor campaign rallies. Individuals without proper designations were allowed to gain access to backstage areas. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department of Homeland Security personnel failed to properly police the 5-foot security buffer near the stage and allowed people to move barricades around the buffer. Department of Homeland Security personnel were not stationed at regular intervals around the security perimeter. The whistleblower further alleged that the majority of Department of Homeland Security personnel working the rally were agents with the DHS investigations team, not even Secret Service agents. They alleged that the HSI agents were unfamiliar with standard security protocols used at campaign events. 2. Information requested and response. In Senator Hawley's July 19th letter, he requested the following information. How did DHS determine to staff the event, including any decision to rely on state or local officers? What percentage of DHS agents at the event were Homeland Security agents, rather than Secret Service? Were a majority of officers at the event drawn from Homeland Security investigation or other DHS components, rather than the Secret Service? If so, why? Were HSI agents properly trained in staffing these type of events? Did gaps exist in the security perimeter? And were the usual protocols followed for the use of canines and magnetometers? Were agents not appropriately stationed around the platform, the podium? Were the standard protocols followed for issuing designated pins to vetted personnel that are allowed backstage? Secret Service has special lapel pins that they issue special people that are allowed backstage at all the events. Secret Service agents have their own pin so that they can identify who is who. How long did agents physically spend on the ground surveying the site before the event? Did any paperwork obligations prevent a longer and more robust site survey? DHS so far has failed to provide responsive answers to Senator Hawley's request. Nearly 10 days later, law enforcement abandoned the roof because it was too hot. Allegedly, law enforcement abandoned the roof because it was too hot. On July 22nd, Senator Hawley wrote a letter to Secretary Mayorkas regarding credible allegations from a whistleblower with knowledge of Secret Service planning for the Butler event. 1. Allegations. The whistleblower alleged that there was supposed to be a law enforcement presence on the roof of the AGR building, Building 6. The roof allegedly where Thomas Crooks was, who attempted to assassinate the former president. They allege that at least one individual was posted to the roof of the AGR building, Building 6, for the duration of the rally. But the post was abandoned because it was too hot. Because the weather was too hot. The whistleblower further alleged that the concerns over the heat prompted law enforcement to station personnel inside Building 6 off to the side, the two-story building off to the side, rather than on patrol around the building. On July 30th, 17 days later after the shooting, in the Senate hearing, Senator Hawley directly questioned Acting Director Rowe regarding this whistleblower report. Rowe acknowledged that he had heard the same report and stated that law enforcement posted up inside. He added, quote, "I think moving forward we're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs," unquote. Senator Hawley continued to press for a direct answer on whether law enforcement abandoned their posts on the roof. Rowe said he did not know that to be a fact, unquote. Senator Hawley continued to press Rowe as to why he did not know. Rowe asserted, quote, "We are looking at this," unquote. In other words, he avoided a direct answer. Now, former Director Cheadle previously testified before the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability that the roof of the AGR Building 6 was not covered with an individual on it because there was overwatch provided. An overwatch provided. This answer contradicted her previous public statement that the decision not to place law enforcement on the roof of the AGR building because the roof was too sloped, too steep. Local law enforcement has disputed the whistleblower's report that law enforcement abandoned the post on the roof, stating they were assigned to be inside the building at windows to begin with. But on August 8, 2024, in a Wall Street Journal report, it suggested there was miscommunication between the Secret Service and local law enforcement regarding security plans for AGR Building 6, and that the heat did factor into the decisions regarding the roof. About 10 minutes after the shooting, another officer arriving at the warehouse said to a fellow officer, "I thought you guys were on the roof. I thought it was you. I thought it was you." No, came the reply with an explanation that no officers were on the roof. "What the F?" the officer replied in frustration. "Why were we not on the roof? Why weren't we?" Unquote. Federal law enforcement officials have said the Secret Service thought local law enforcement officers, including snipers from the Butler County Emergency Services Unit, were supposed to secure the building where Crooks had fired. However, a local law enforcement official involved in the event planning previously said that the tactical team heads told the Secret Service during the walkthrough that its snipers would be inside the building on its second floor. Butler's teams didn't want the snipers on the roof because they would have been exposed to temperatures over 9 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the day, that official said. Relatedly, on July 23rd, 10 days later, the Commissioner for the Pennsylvania State Police, Colonel Christopher Paris, and many of you may have seen his testimony on YouTube or live on the television, where he testified that there were at least 2 law enforcement officers in the second floor window overlooking the roof of AGR Building 6. But those officers left that post to track down the shooter. Butler County District Attorney has disputed this claim, calling it a misstatement. He asserted that the only one counter sniper briefly left the building in search for crooks, but he returned to his post. The Pennsylvania State Police have stated that it stands by Colonel Paris's testimony. 2. Information requested in response. In his July 22nd letter, Senator Hawley requested the following information. If the whistleblower's allegations are accurate, when did the individual abandon his post? Which law enforcement units were assigned to the roof? Please provide all security plans indicating which units were assigned to the roof in the building. Did any law enforcement fail to report to their assigned stations that day? DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has thus far failed to provide responsive answers to Senator Hawley's request. July 25th. The Secret Service declined drone coverage. On July 25th, Senator Hawley wrote a letter to Secretary Mayorkas requiring credible allegations from a whistleblower with knowledge of security planning for the Butler event. Allegations. The whistleblower alleged that the night before the rally, Secret Service personnel reportedly denied offers from local law enforcement partners to utilize drone technology to secure the rally. Now, as most of you know, drones are very inexpensive. Most police agencies now use drones all the time. This last attempt on President Trump's life at the golf course was detected through the use of drones. According to the whistleblower here, the drones that were offered to the Secret Service could not only identify active shooters, but also help neutralize them. The drones had the capability to neutralize a shooter. The whistleblower further alleged that after the shooting took place, Secret Service personnel changed course and asked the local partner to deploy the drone technology to surveil the site in the aftermath of the Butler event. Allegations. The whistleblower alleged that the night before the rally, Secret Service personnel repeatedly denied offers from local law enforcement partner to utilize drone technology to secure the rally. According to the whistleblower, the drones that were offered the Secret Service could not only identify active shooters and help neutralize them. The whistleblower further alleged that the shooting took place. After the shooting took place, Secret Service personnel changed course, and they asked the local partner to deploy the drone technology to surveil the site in the aftermath. The day before Senator Hawley published these allegations, FBI Director Christopher Wray confirmed in his testimony before the House Judiciary Committee that Thomas Crooks had used a drone to surveil the site in preparation for his attack. Wray confirmed that the shooter was operating the drone approximately 2 hours before President Trump took the stage. The shooter surveilled the site 2 hours before President Trump took the stage. Senator Hawley wrote that it was hard to understand why Secret Service personnel declined the drones offered to them, in particularly in light of Wray's testimony. Why did the Secret Service deny the drones offered to them? At the July 30th, 2024 Senate hearing, Senator Hawley directly questioned Acting Director Rowe regarding this whistleblower report. Rowe confirmed that there was an offer to fly a drone on the day. Senator Hawley asked why the drone was denied. Acting Director Rowe replied, quote, "I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered," unquote. Yet it was offered, and it's proven. 2. Information requested and response. In his July 25th letter, Senator Hawley requested all records and communications concerning the availability or use of drones on the July 13th rally. DHS has thus far failed to provide the requested records. August 1st, the Counter-Surveillance Division was not present at the Butler rally. The Counter-Surveillance Division was not present at the Butler rally. On August 1st, Senator Hawley wrote a letter to Acting Director Rowe regarding credible allegations from a whistleblower. 1. The whistleblower alleged that the Secret Service Counter-Surveillance Division, the unit that provides threat assessment at event sites before the event occurs, did not perform its typical evaluation of the Butler site, and it was not present on the day of the rally. The whistleblower stated that if personnel from CSD, the Counter-Surveillance Division, had been present at the rally, the gunman would have been handcuffed in the parking lot after being spotted with a rangefinder. The whistleblower further alleged that the acting SS Director, Secret Service Director Rowe, personally directed significant cuts to the Counter-Surveillance Division, up to and including reducing the division's manpower by 20%. The acting Secret Service Director denied using the drones, denied the Secret Service manpower, and cut it by 20%. Acting Director Rowe did not mention this in his July 30th Senate testimony, but asked directly to explain his manpower reductions. It is no wonder that President Trump got shot the first time, and even got shot this last time, because of manpower reductions authorized by Acting Director Rowe. The whistleblower also alleged retaliation against those within the Secret Service who expressed concern about the security of President Trump's events. The whistleblower claimed that the following event with the former president at the golf tournament in August of last year. Secret Service personnel expressed the concerns about local law enforcement used for the event. Security were not properly trained or otherwise prepared to execute the tasks that were assigned to them. Further, Secret Service personnel expressed alarm that the individuals were admitted to the event without vetting. The whistleblower alleged that those who raised such concerns faced retaliations. In an August 2nd press conference, Acting Director Rowe was asked directly about this whistleblower report. Rowe acknowledged that he had heard the report and said that the Secret Service would respond to Senator Hawley's letter. He stated that the Counter-Surveillance Division, when requested, go out and support former President's details, but did not say whether the CSD unit was present at the Butler rally. When asked in a follow-up question whether he cut funding personally, Rowe stated that he did not. Information requested and response. In his August 1st letter, Senator Hawley requested the following information. All responsive records during Rowe's time as Deputy Director in which policy and personnel changes were made to the Counter-Surveillance Division, the Secret Service Division that specifically performs advanced site threat assessments. The nature of Rowe's personal involvement in revising, updating, or otherwise changing Secret Service policies and personnel related to the Counter-Surveillance Division. The number of Secret Service agents who raise concerns about security practices within the Secret Service and are currently facing disciplinary action, as well as the nature of the concerns and the type of disciplinary actions, and the breakdown of Secret Service personnel on July 13th rally by division and unit. So Hawley raised concerns about the Secret Service agents who have raised concern about security practices within the Secret Service and those agencies or agents that are currently facing disciplinary action, and the type of disciplinary action. In response to Senator Hawley's letter of August 19th, 2024, the Secret Service declined to provide the requested information. Declined to provide requested information. The DHS also has not provided this information. August 5th, the Butler rally site agent was known for lack of incompetence. On August 5th, Senator Hawley wrote to Acting Director Rowe regarding credible allegations from multiple whistleblowers with direct knowledge of the Butler event. Allegations. One whistleblower alleged that the Secret Service lead site agent, the agent with specific responsibility for the security of the Butler rally site, was known to lack competence and experience in the role. The whistleblower claimed that this agent was responsible for mitigating line-of-sight concerns at the Butler site. A separate whistleblower alleged that the lead site agent personally made decisions that likely compromised the overall security of the event. For example, campaign material, such as flags that were placed around the stage and the catwalk used by the former president, despite the fact that these items were typically prohibited because of how they affected the line of sight of those agents responsible for identifying threats. The Secret Service also did not check IDs when issuing credentials that authorized access to restricted areas of the site, contrary to typical practice. Information requested in response. In his August 5th letter, Senator Hawley requested the lead site agent's personnel file in addition to the following information. Who specifically made the decision to assign this lead site agent to the July 13th event? On basis, what was this decision made? Were obstructions on the stage and catwalk permitted to be used without evaluating the impact on the line of sight for agents responsible for the president's protection? Why were the credential pins given out without asking for identification? How specifically will the lead agent be held accountable? In its response, Senator Hawley on August 19, 2024, the Secret Service declined to provide the requested information. Department of Homeland Security also did not provide this information. A few days after the Secret Service response, several Secret Service agents were placed on administrative leave. Whistleblowers report to Senator Hawley's office that the lead site agent was among those agents placed on leave. On August 23rd, Secret Service headquarters denied additional manpower resources. On August 23, 2024, Senator Hawley wrote another letter to Acting Director Rowe regarding credible allegations from a whistleblower with knowledge of Secret Service planning for the Butler event. Allegations. According to the whistleblower, the lead advance agent for a trip involving protection of a specific individual typically submits a manpower request to the local field office. This normally includes a number of personnel and other security assets needed for the event, and it's submitted to the U.S. Secret Service Office of Protective Operations Manpower, OPO Manpower, for final approval. The whistleblower alleged that the officials within this office preemptively informed the Pittsburgh field office that the Butler rally event was not going to receive additional security resources because Trump is a former president. Because Trump is a former president and not the incumbent president or vice president. According to the whistleblower, the manpower request did not include extra security resources because agents on the ground were told not to ask for them in the first place. Importantly, these resources including counter sniper teams and CSD counter surveillance officials personnel. The counter-sniper teams were not going to be given to the Secret Service. And the counter-surveillance division was also not going to be given to this event. Isn't that interesting? Rowe had complete charge of this. Why is he not on leave? That's my statement. Why is Rowe not on administrative leave himself? Can he put himself on administrative leave? He's responsible. Information requested in response. In his August 23rd letter, Senator Hawley requested a copy of the manpower request submitted to the Office of Personnel Operations Manpower for the Butler trip, in addition to the following information. Who within the OPO manpower informed the Pittsburgh field office and or the agents in charge not to include additional security assets in the manpower request because they would be denied? Who informed them that they would be denied? Has that individual been disciplined? Which specific security assets were left out of the manpower request for the Butler trip at the prompting of Secret Service officials? Did Acting Director Rowe have personal knowledge that the Secret Service officials had told the Pittsburgh field office to leave out the additional security assets from the Butler manpower request before he testified before the Senate? In its response to Senator Hawley on September 4th, 2024, just days ago, the Secret Service declined to provide the requested information. The Department of Homeland Security has also not provided this information. Interesting, huh? On September 10th, 2024, Fox News reported that Secret Service Assistant Director Michael Plati, P-L-A-T-I, who led the Office of Protective Operations, had been encouraged to retire. The Director of the Office of Protective Operations had been encouraged to retire by the agency leadership. Both the Secret Service and Plati spokesman denied the report. 2 days later, Fox News reported to the high-level security Secret Service officials who have direct or indirect connections to the Butler, Pennsylvania security situation are retiring. High-level Secret Service officials that had either direct or indirect connections to the Butler, Pennsylvania security situation are retiring. While the employees are eligible for retirement, they've been encouraged by senior leadership to do so more quickly to avoid lengthy congressional interviews and investigations. On September 3rd, Department of Homeland Security agents assigned to the Butler rally received inadequate training. On September 3rd, 2024, Senator Hawley wrote a letter to Acting Director Rowe regarding credible allegations from a whistleblower that knowledge of Secret Service preparations for protective details. Allegations. The whistleblower alleged that the only training received by HSI agents, Homeland Security investigators, reassigned to work protective details was a single 2-hour webinar on Microsoft Teams, the application, featuring pre-recorded videos. According to the whistleblower, these videos were not substantive, and their playback was frequently riddled with technical mishaps, leaving the HSI agents ill-prepared for the protective mission to which they were newly assigned. Furthermore, the whistleblower alleged that the Secret Service has not changed, updated or otherwise improved its webinar trainings since the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. The whistleblower further alleges that the HSI agents were pulled off child exploitation cases in order to provide protective details for which they were unprepared. Senator Hawley's letter noted previous whistleblower reports that HSI agents outnumbered Secret Service agents at the Butler event. DHS agents outnumbered Secret Service agents at the Butler event. And that HSI agents at the rally had never worked a protective detail before and did not know proper procedures. Information requested and response. In his letter September 3rd, 2024, Senator Hawley requested copies of materials used for any online training provided to DHS investigator special agents assigned to protective details. In addition to the following information: how many HSI agents were present at the Butler rally on July 13th? Of the HSI agents present at the rally, how many were trained for work on protective details using webinar training, whether in whole or in part? Has the training been revamped in any way since July 13th? Have HSI agents been reassigned from child exploitation cases to assist on protective details? If so, how many? In response to Senator Hawley's letter on September 4th, 2024, the Secret Service declined to provide the requested information. The DHS also has not provided the information. New whistleblower allegations. The above letters encompass the whistleblower allegations that Senator Hawley has made public thus far. In addition, Senator Hawley has received several new whistleblower allegations that have not yet been reported. These include the lead agent responsible for the entire Butler visit, including the rally, failed a key examination during their federal law enforcement training to become a Secret Service agent and was known to be a low-caliber agent. The Secret Service intelligence units, the teams of Secret Service agents paired with state and local law enforcement to handle reports of suspicious persons, were absent from the Butler rally. Deployments of these units would have mitigated poor communication between the different law enforcement components, which has emerged as one of the core operational failures of the day. The hospital site, where former President Trump received treatment after the shooting was poorly secured. The Secret Service site agent responsible for the hospital security did not know what was going on and could not answer basic questions about site security. Outstanding questions. Senator Hawley's investigation shed new light on the preparations for the Butler rally and details about how the rally unfolded that day. His investigations prompted Secret Service officials to explain their actions. Yet there remains many outstanding questions, in addition to the questions posed in Senator Hawley's letters. Executive branch agencies still need to explain to the American people the following: responsibility and accountability. Who within the Secret Service made the decision to deny counter-sniper coverage to the rooftop from which allegedly Thomas Crook shot former President Trump on July 13th? 2. Who within the Secret Service was responsible for approving the communications plan between the federal, state, and local law enforcement officers on July 13th? Who within the Secret Service was responsible for supervising the local law enforcement partners on July 13th? Who? Who within the Secret Service was the site agent for the rally on July 13th? Senator Hawley, through whistleblowers, knows the identity of this agent, but executive branch agencies will neither confirm nor deny the agent's identity publicly. Who specifically made the decision to assign the site agent to the July 13th rally? On what basis was this decision made? 5. Who within the Secret Service was a lead agent for the Butler visit on July 13th? Senator Hawley, through whistleblowers, knows the identity of this agent, but executive branch agencies will neither confirm nor deny the agent's identity publicly. Who specifically made the decision to assign the lead agent to the Butler visit? On what basis was this decision made? Who within the Secret Service was in charge of determining the security perimeter for the Butler, Pennsylvania event? Today, who within the Secret Service has been fired, suspended, or subject to any disciplinary actions related to the Butler rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, 2024? B. Security at the AGR building, Building 6 in the building complex. Did any law enforcement agents or counter-sniper units abandon their assigned posts at any AGR building? How did crooks access the roof of the AGR Building 6 and smuggle a firearm there without detection by law enforcement? Did local law enforcement fire weapons at crooks, as has been reported? If so, what was the outcome of that engagement? Requests for additional resources. Or counter-surveillance division personnel resources requested for the Butler rally on July 13th? If so, were they provided? If not, why not? Did the acting Secret Service Director, Rowe, ever deny a resource to the Trump campaign or the U.S. Secret Service counter-snipers teams, as has been reported in the press? Has former President Trump, his organization, his campaign, or any related entity ever requested additional protection from the Secret Service? What role, if any, did former Director Cheadle have in reviewing, approving, or denying any such requests? What role, if any, did Rowe, as Deputy Director of the acting Director, have in reviewing, approving, or denying any such requests? Motive. What was Crook's motive for the attempted assassination? 15. What did Crooks use encrypted messaging applications for in his preparations for the assassination attempt? He had encrypted messaging applications on his phone. Conclusion. 2 months have now elapsed since former President Trump was nearly assassinated, and the American people still know far too little about why this happened. The Secret Service, the FBI, and Department of Homeland Security have not been forthcoming with the American people. Far from it. They have closed ranks, refused to confirm or deny whistleblower allegations, and resisted meaningful oversight. In fact, sources with direct knowledge of Secret Service's own internal investigation have alleged to Senator Hawley that the Department of Homeland Security is leaning on Secret Service not to comply with demanded requests from Congress. Let me repeat that. Sources with direct knowledge of Secret Service's own internal investigation have alleged to Senator Hawley that the DHS is leaning on Secret Service not to comply with document requests from Congress. Instead, it has been left to courageous whistleblowers to tell the story of what really happened. They have testified to the serious security failures pervading every level of the Butler Rally operation. They have highlighted long-standing problems at these security agencies, shedding light on decadent and unserious internal cultures. Left alone, these agencies will not reform themselves. They will continue to stonewall and obfuscate. Plainly, it is now up to Congress and the President to clean house at these failing agencies at the earliest possible convenience, the earliest possible opportunity. In the months and years to come, Senator Hawley has pledged that he will continue to fight to hold accountable all individuals that were involved with this tragedy. The American people deserve to know the truth. There are many other parts to this report from Senator Hawley. There are several appendixes after this. Timeline of investigative actions by Senator Hawley, for example. July 13th, the 14th, the 15th, the 17th, July 19th, July 19th, and the 22nd. July 25th, July 30th, August 1st, August 5th, August 23rd, September 3rd, 10 days ago. Appendix 2. Senator Hawley visited Butler, Pennsylvania himself on July 19th, just 7 days after the shooting. There are pictures of Senator Hawley on site. Pictures of Building 6. Many pictures of Building 6. The whistleblower's tip line. Again, whistleblowers are encouraged to contact Senator Hawley's office by email at tips@hawley.senate.gov or call Senator Hawley's phone at area code 202-224-6154. Whistleblower identities will be protected against disclosure. Tips from federal employees are protected by the Whistleblower Protection Act. (5 USC) Section 2302, which prohibits the federal government from taking any personal action on the basis of disclosure of evidence of gross mismanagement, gross waste of funds, abuse of authority, or illegal activity. Guys, this is serious. Everybody needs to be held accountable for what has happened. Now, we are 2 months out, actually 64 days since the first assassination attempt. It happened again, through gross negligence. It's happened again through gross negligence. I have it on good authority that what has happened with the Secret Service event
is what I call fiscal pyromaniacs. They want to spend money like it's candy. There is trillions of dollars of new spending in the plan that Kamala Harris announced. Meanwhile, how is that going to be all paid for? This is according to the New York Times, not Steve Moore. According to the New York Times, $5 trillion of tax increases. Someone at Fox earlier this week asked me if that's the biggest tax increase.
I'm sorry, guys, that wasn't supposed to get out. That was a complete separate report. Okay? That was a complete separate report. However, there is more information than this. A report that was issued by NBC News. A report that was issued by NBC News. Let me play it for you. Now, The person at NBC News is a communist. Dan Bongino completely confirmed this man is a communist. Let me play this report for you. It's only audio.
Attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town. Our Maggie Vespa is in Columbus, Ohio, with more.
Lester, simply put, Springfield, Ohio has been inundated by threats.
That actually aired. Of course, NBC is always a source of communist propaganda. Here's Lester Holt. This actually aired. This is not a joke. It's not AI. Here's the disgusting Lester Holt, an obvious communist. Obvious. Blaming Donald Trump or implying Donald Trump's at fault for Donald Trump repeatedly getting shot at or people attempting to murder him with high-powered rifles. It happened. Check this out.
Today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town. Our Maggie Vespa is in Columbus, Ohio, with more.
Lester, simply put, Springfield, Ohio has been inundated by threats.
Inundated by threats. Okay? It's happened. There have been whistleblowers stating that Haitian immigrants and other people are stealing people's pets and barbecuing them, cooking them, eating them. And yet, the very media, the mainstream media, is reporting that it is a joke, that it's not happening. That's not happening. Now, today, Governor DeSantis held a news conference. Governor DeSantis held a news conference in West Palm Beach, Florida, with law enforcement officials after the event. Let me play some of the audio for this event.
I'm going to make my hand wet, and then I'm going to...
Be just a second. Again, stupid YouTube's putting up commercials here.
Across multiple judicial circuits in the state. Palm Beach Judicial Circuit, the Judicial Circuit including Martin County, as well as perhaps the Judicial Circuit represented by Broward County. Also, the state of Florida has jurisdiction over the most serious straightforward offense, which is attempted murder. I have directed state agencies to move expeditiously and provide full transparency to the public. In my judgment, it's not in the best interest of our state or our nation that the same federal agencies that are seeking to prosecute Donald Trump leading this investigation, especially when the most serious straightforward offense constitutes a violation of state law, but not federal law. In addition to holding the suspect accountable, the public deserves to know the truth about how this assassination came to be. And I have directed all state agencies to work expeditiously to be able to uncover the truth in addition to holding this suspect accountable. We are going to hear from some folks that will be involved in this, starting with our Attorney General, Ashley Moody.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for all who are joining us today. I'm Ashley Moody. I'm the Attorney General of the great state of Florida. Really proud, as always, to stand with a leader like Governor DeSantis, who always appears to meet the moment, whatever that may be, whatever challenge may be upon us. And he's certainly not one to sit on his hands. And today is another demonstration of that incredible leadership characteristic. You know, I think America right now is, and Florida, citizens are very hungry for leadership. This is unprecedented to have this much focus on a presidential nominee with the type of rhetoric and threats coming out of the mouths of so many people. And I will just say, it was really disappointing to hear the president say that President Trump should be put in a bullseye just days before we saw the first assassination attempt, and then weeks later the DNC say that threat was certainly very much alive. Today is another demonstration of that incredible leadership characteristic. You know, I think America right now and Florida citizens are very hungry for leadership. This is unprecedented to have this much focus on a presidential nominee with the type of rhetoric and threats coming out of the mouths of so many people. And I'll just say, it was really disappointing to hear the president say that President Trump should be put in a bullseye just days before we saw the first assassination attempt. And then weeks later, the DNC say that threat was still very much alive. And now, again, in under 30 days, another assassination attempt. And so what I think people are hungry for is leadership. They don't want somebody to come out and say, Secret Service needs to tell us what they need and Congress should do something about it. It may very well be that more resources need to be dedicated to Secret Service. But leadership is about strategy. It's about implementing a plan. It's about determining where your gaps are, your deficiencies, and filling those in. I mean, look no further than our governor when we were hit by a major catastrophe like Ian, a hurricane, and he didn't say, somebody give them money. And he didn't say, you do this. He built a bridge in 3 days. He got it done. I told him that's what he should have ran on when he ran for re-election. That was it. The motto should have been a bridge in 3 days. And so what we need is the president to acknowledge that the agencies, not just Secret Service, but DHS, in which it is housed, are under his purview. That is what the people elected him to be. Our commander-in-chief and the head of an executive branch which is made up of agencies. And that means when something happens and goes wrong, you are in the details and you are formulating a plan, and it may not always be just about money. It's about leadership. And right now, the American people need to know we're on this. Sometimes states have the ability and the jurisdiction to bring charges and go after maximum penalties that maybe the federal government does not. And that doesn't mean it's a turf war. Somebody asked me about that before. It is very common for state investigators, state prosecutors to work with our federal prosecutors and federal agents on dual tracks with different purposes.
Hey, my name is Ruben Gallego, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate in Arizona.
Sorry, guys. Again, we're getting crap from YouTube here. More commercials.
Arizona.
And we can't stop it. I wanted to play this press conference for you because I thought it was important.
And we may have different charges here, and that's why with Governor DeSantis' leadership, I am proud that Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Florida Highway Patrol will be looking into and investigating what happened when something went terribly wrong, when someone was allowed to remain on the periphery of a golf course in a tree line for 12 hours and get within 500 feet of the President of the United States. We also need trust and transparency. And that's why I'm very proud of the state of Florida for stepping up and this governor for stepping up and delivering that to Floridians and the American people. It is awkward, to say the least, to have a prosecutorial agency and an investigatory agency that is bringing charges and seeking to put the victim away for life being the same agency and prosecutors that are going after the would-be assassin. And so we're happy to make sure that the American people and Floridians feel confident that we're protecting one of our own, that we're investigating this and leave no stone unturned, and that is to protect the life of the once and potentially future President of the United States, Donald Trump. So thank you, Governor DeSantis, for trusting us and our agencies with this important work.
Okay, Mark Glass, FDLE.
Good morning. I'm Mark Glass, the Commissioner for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And first, I just want to say, I want to thank Governor DeSantis for his steadfast leadership of this great state. And I also want you to know that within just hours after this heinous attempt on former President Donald Trump, Governor DeSantis took action and directed state law enforcement to find the truth, to hunt for the truth. And that's what we're doing. We're hunting. Florida is a law and order state, and we will not sit idly by while anybody stonewalls information sharing amongst our law enforcement entities. We know that we want answers, we got to go get them. And our proud law enforcement officers and deputies are out there doing that, and we're happy to do that for this great state. Additionally, Florida law enforcement is very fortunate to have Attorney General Moody and her prosecutors to help us with finding that truth. And her Office of Statewide Prosecution is an essential partner in our quest for justice. Let me be clear on this one. Acts of domestic terrorism, such as attempted assassinations, are unacceptable, and we will not stand for that in Florida. The men and women of Florida law enforcement agencies throughout our great state are working day and night tirelessly to uncover and fight for the truth. The people of Florida deserve answers, and Governor, we will deliver those answers to you. Thank you.
Okay, Palm Beach County's own Commissioner of the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, Director Dave Kerner.
Thank you, Governor, and it is good to be back in Palm Beach County. Unfortunate circumstances. My name is Dave Kerner, and my capacity as Executive Director, I have operational control of the Florida Highway Patrol, and we take this assignment, Governor, with deep gratitude to be part of this important investigation. As an agency, we're cognizant of the gravity of the now 2 attempts on the life of a former United States President and current nominee for President of the United States of America. Regarding the direction by Governor DeSantis that state troopers participate in the state-level criminal investigation into this assassination attempt, there are fundamental questions that must be answered and acted upon. There is at least one person, perhaps more, that needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. The experience of the Florida Highway Patrol and their Bureau of Criminal Investigations and Intelligence accepts this mission with humility and a very specific promise. That promise recognizes that effective law enforcement is based upon the foundation of interagency and intergovernmental cooperation in the investigation. We go into this investigation with our partners in FDLE and the Sheriff of Palm Beach County and Martin County, candidly, with the promise of the exchange of information on both sides. We make that commitment. However, Governor, our promise is that if the higher-ups in the federal government refuse to provide the light of transparency, then we will fight in the shade. The people of Florida and the United States have a right to be served by a government of candor, honesty, and action. And I'm confident that we will bring you and the people of Florida those answers, no matter the manner in which we uncover them. We will do everything that we can. I know Commissioner Glass and his special agents and our troopers are fully prepared for this mission. Law and order is not merely a concept, it is a way of life that requires constant effort and attention, and our governor has never wavered from that commitment. To the sheriffs of Palm Beach County, Sheriff Bradshaw, and Sheriff Snyder of Martin County, we look forward to with you to work in this investigation in a cooperative manner. Thank you very much. very much.
Okay? I'm going to cut that short. Okay? After this, it's a bunch of other repeat. I want to tell you this. The sheriff of Palm Beach County last night came out and said this was a conspiracy to kill President Trump. This was a conspiracy to kill President Trump. And there's all kinds of evidence to prove it. Now that remains to be seen. I've not seen any of that evidence. But the sheriff of Palm Beach County came out last night and said that. I'm giving that to you now. I went to search for that same video that I saw last night and I can't find it. I have a feeling that it's been taken down. But the Palm Beach County sheriff said it's a conspiracy to kill the president. No doubt. No doubt I believe it's a conspiracy to kill President Trump. Dan Bongino said a couple weeks ago there would be more attempts on President Trump's life. Melania Trump has also come out with a video herself condemning the attempts on her husband's life. I'm also coming out right now with my condemnation of the attempt on President Trump's life. Nothing should have ever happened. The people in charge, and I'm talking President Biden himself, Kamala Harris herself, Dan Waltz himself, the man who's running as Kamala's vice presidential nominee, have also come out and said that President Trump has a target on his back. The comments that have come out are in total contrast with our political motivation during election time. Never, not ever should anybody ever ask for another person's assassination or that they have a target on their back. It should not ever be that way. And I'm coming out in condemnation of it as well. It should not happen. And we should stand up and be counted. Those of us in social media need to stand up and be counted. We cannot let this continue. We cannot let this continue. Does anybody have any questions about anything we said tonight? I've gone through it step by step through Senator Hawley's Whistleblowers report. I've gone through step by step through everything we've had here. I've even put up pictures of what happened. Now it's happened again. President Trump and his golfing partner, Mr. Steve Witkoff, were possibly had the possibility of being shot at. Had Secret Service agents not taken a shot at the possible shooter. The shooter that had backpacks lined up on the fence to try to protect himself with ceramic tile in the backpacks to use as a shield against incoming rounds. He was even going to record the event on his GoPro camera. We have proof of that. We have the man in custody now. We need to make sure he remains in custody. President Trump gave the police and the Secret Service his own account of what happened on Sunday. Mr. Steve Witkoff, his golfing partner, said the same thing, completely the same testimony. Folks, this kind of thing has to stop. This kind of stuff has to stop. Now, I spoke to someone earlier today about election interference. Back in 2012, when Obama was running for president against Mitt Romney, I voted for Mitt Romney in Salt Lake City at a polling place. And whenever I tried to put Mitt Romney as my vote, the machine changed it to Barack Obama. I hailed an election official at the polling place and explained the situation, and I showed him that that's what had happened. Multiple times, the vote changed to Barack Obama. This happened all over the United States, and yet Barack Obama was declared the winner of the election. Who knows how many people have their votes changed by the machine? When it happened to me in Salt Lake City, I requested a ballot, a paper ballot, so I could vote in that election. 2 weeks later, I got a note from the Registrar of Voters in the mail saying my ballot was not counted and gave no reasonable explanation for it. The Registrar of Voters in Utah told me that my vote was not counted and gave me no reasonable explanation why. And Barack Obama was elected the President of the United States. I believe that's exactly what happened 4 years ago in the 2020 election. I hope that won't happen again. We can't trust the voting machines. I would much rather have everybody vote a paper ballot. That way the ballots can be counted and verified. I detest mail-in ballots. Yes, I requested a mail-in ballot myself this election. I have not yet received it. However, those of you that I have spoken to, some of you have also requested mail-in ballots and have got back a mail-in ballot. Multiple mail-in ballots you've gotten back. In one case, one person that I spoke to today got back 6 mail-in ballots. 6 mail-in ballots that they could vote for the presidency of the United States of America in 2024. This is unheard of. This is unheard of. It should never happen. And yet it is. We must put a stop to this. Today is National Registration for Election Day. Today is National Voter Registration Day. September 17th, 2024 is National Voter Registration Day. Brothers and sisters, I'm asking you, please, if you received multiple ballots to vote in this election, only use one and report to your Registrar of Voters office that you received multiple ballots. This should never happen. Also, those of you who are Democrat and want to vote for President Trump, you need to change your voter registration immediately. You need to change your voter registration immediately to independent so that you can vote for whoever you want, Republican or Democrat. You do not have to vote for Biden if you don't want to, but you must immediately change your voter registration. Otherwise, you will be forced to vote for President Biden or Harris. Change your voter registration immediately. Does anybody have any questions for me? I've given you a lot of information. Now, I promised you some information about an earthquake. I'm going to talk about one earthquake. We've had several. Actually, I'm going to briefly talk about some earthquakes that have happened. Number one, over in the South Mid-Atlantic, there's been another 5.0 earthquake. It's been downgraded to 4.9 moderate earthquake, or what they want to call a light earthquake. It's a 5.0 large earthquake in the Mid-Atlantic, southern Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Over in the Indian Ocean, off the coast of Madagascar, there was just another moderate earthquake there. It's the only earthquake that's hit Madagascar in a while now. Okay? There's also been another 5.1 large earthquake hit Ackerley, Texas last night after we got off the air. Last night I spoke about Ackerley, Texas having a bunch of swarms of earthquakes. And shortly after that, a 5.1 earthquake hit. Since then, multiple aftershocks have also hit. This is an oil and gas fracking operation earthquake. We've spoken about this before. It's a fracking operation system in Texas. Someone said that it was the only large earthquake that they've had in Texas, and that was not true. There were several other large earthquakes down in Falls City, Texas earlier this year. Last year. There was also another 5.1 earthquake over in southwestern Texas, causing a lot of damage. One of my friends lived in the town where it hit, and we reported on it after it hit. So this is nothing new. It's been happening for a while now. It's been happening for a while. I'm going to ask you all to watch out, because I believe these large earthquakes are not just over in Texas, they're everywhere. I'm also looking for a large earthquake to hit Southern California, and it could happen any day. It could happen any day. We talked about earthquakes yesterday, we talked about earthquakes last week. They are going to happen. They are going to happen. We've had some large earthquakes in Indonesia. We've had some large earthquakes in the Kermadec Islands today, north of New Zealand. We had another large earthquake off the southeastern shore of, or actually not southeastern shore, but the southwestern shore of Chile on Southeast Pacific Rise. Another 5.0 large earthquake that they downgraded to 4.9. They're hitting all over the place. Please be careful. Watch what you're seeing. If you see anything up and above normal, let me know, because I want to go on the air to report it. Please be safe out there. Take care of your families. Take care of your children, your extended families, and also help take care of your neighbors and friends, especially the elderly neighbors and friends that you have. God bless them all. Folks, I want to leave you with a word from the Scriptures. I'm again going over to the first epistle of Timothy. I'm going over to verse 8 and 9. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and mothers, and murderers of mothers, and manslayers. It's happening. Let's be righteous. Let's be righteous, God-fearing citizens, obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law of the land wherever we live. Obeying, honest, and honoring the law of the land where we live. Honoring the people who we elect as well. If they're not doing their job, get them out of there. Vote them out of there. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I love you. I would not be here if I didn't. I want to urge you again to make sure you register to vote. If you want to vote in the election and you're wanting to vote for President Trump, change your affiliation now. Change your affiliation to vote for now. Change it to independent. That way you can vote for whoever you want in this general election. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we can meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. We love you very much. We'll see you. Take care of each other. God bless.